I mean, I understand what you're saying about where the differences are, and they are very big. They are voting yes on what we say here in Washington, a clean CR, a bill to keep the government running for 7 weeks, and Democrats are voting no, and for the reasons you just said. So how are they shutting down the government?
First of all, it isn't a clean CR.
Okay.
So let's not stipulate to that. It's not a clean CR.
What do they have in it?
It's going into that. The point is, Democrats who created Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, the Affordable Care Act, all of that, are now being asked, reject that so we can give a tax cut to the rich. We're not doing it. And it isn't a question of, well, let's come back together so we can discuss it. That isn't going to happen. They had that chance. Now they just have to open government with it as a stipulation.
So how do you get there? Would it be the president saying he's willing to engage in negotiations? Is it, I mean, what do you actually need tangibly to get there?
Well, let me just...
In this exchange, CNN's Dana Bash wasn't just moderating. She was challenging the logic of Washington's blame game. Pelosi came armed with talking points, but Bash came armed with math and a question no one in power ever wants to hear. How does that add up?
I'm so pleased with Hakeem Jeffries and the role he's playing for our House Democrats, Chuck, of course. But here's the thing. Everything important springs from the people. The public knows that this is wrong for them. This is a kitchen table issue for them. This is a kitchen table issue. They want costs lowered. The Republicans are raising the cost. And this is, our members have been all over the country spreading the word. Lincoln, public sentiment is everything. With it, you can accomplish almost anything. And that is what we were doing. They're going to hear from their own constituents that government has to open up under these conditions.
And the conditions are that you want them to just automatically raise or extend, I should say, the subsidies for Obamacare?
Yeah, not to cancel them, but also it has to be in the law.
When you say cancel, they expire at the end of the year.
Yeah, so they must be expired.
Without any kind of negotiation over it, because they want reforms.
What reforms do they want? They want it to reduce,
So you just don't buy any of it?
What do you mean reforms?
I'm just telling you what they've been on TV saying constantly.
I know, but that's what they say on TV, but look at history, look at the experience. When he was president before, he was going to whatever. He said, Obamacare sucks. That's what he said, Obamacare sucks. It's not about reforms. We're all interested in reforms all the time. The subsidies are a reform. Under Biden, they are an improvement over the Affordable Care Act, and I'm very proud of the Affordable Care Act and the reforms. But they have not, they wanted, over 70 times they voted to repeal the Affordable Care Act.
But this is a very specific part of the Affordable Care Act that you know better than I is popular in a lot of their districts
and that's
across the country.
And you say, how are we going to open it? We're going to open it because it's very popular and well among Democrats, among Republicans, and among independents.
But you also mentioned making cuts to programs that Congress had already approved, raising. So you're talking about a wide array and wide range of wants and sort of demands that Democrats have. You've been through this kind of thing many, many times. I still can't see, and maybe you can explain it, how you get from here to there, because it feels like we're going to be in this for a long time.
Well, when President Trump was president before, it was 35 days.
Yeah.
And I remind you, he said, I'm very proud of this shutdown. That's the words he used, because they don't believe in governance, and then they don't believe in the work that government does. So now they're saying they may not pay the employees that do the work, which the law that he signed says they must pay.
Well, let me ask you about that. I'm glad you brought that up, because not only are they suggesting that perhaps they will not pay some furloughed workers, they're also still holding out the possibility of just firing federal workers. It's a pressure tactic against you and your fellow Democrats to do whatever it takes to vote yes to reopen the government.
With all due respect, they were going to fire these people anyway. Just look at their game plan. They were firing them anyway.
You think it's an excuse?
And the workers know that. The workers are better informed than most of us on this, because they're bearing the brunt of it. And they know had this firing lined up for a long time.
So you don't buy it? You think this is an excuse?
Of course I don't buy it, but I don't buy it, but there's clarity here. It's no use confusing the issue with, oh, they might have and would have and should have and all that. No. They're giving a tax cut to the rich, $4 trillion tax cut to the rich at the expense of food in the mouths of babies, health care for families, Medicaid for long-term health care for seniors as well as for poor children, not to even mention the Medicare cuts that they have, but I will mention them. In any event, don't ask Democrats to say we are going to reject everything we stand for in Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. They're firing so many people at Social Security, it's hard to get your benefit.
Yeah.
So this is a budget is a statement of values.
The conflict between Dana Bash and Nancy Pelosi in this interview highlighted a larger issue in American politics. Too many leaders confuse repetition with clarity. Pelosi's reply, that Democrats are standing up for values, may sound rhetorical, but it ignores Bash's primary question. If both sides claim to want to keep the government running, why can't they agree on a basic financing measure? Bash's strength as an interviewer is her persistence. She didn't interrupt to earn points, but to bring the argument back to reality. Each time Pelosi veered off topic to discuss tax cuts for the wealthy or the Democratic Party's moral tradition, Bash carefully brought her back to the point. How do you get there? It was the type of reaction Washington rarely gets from its own press corps. Forceful, factual, and unafraid to identify a deflection for what it is. Pelosi's responses demonstrate how disconnected leadership rhetoric can be from practical governing. Her claim that rejecting a continuing resolution constituted a stance for principle sounds admirable, but in actuality, it risks the same outcome she opposes: suffering to ordinary Americans as a result of the shutdown. Bash's insistence on clarity served as a subliminal reminder that politics is judged by impact rather than purpose. The exchange also highlights a broader difference between accountability and performance. Pelosi, a seasoned political strategist, portrays the issue as moral combat, good versus greed. Bash, on the other hand, establishes cause and effect. The end outcome is a microcosm of American discourse. Moral absolutism collides with journalistic pragmatism. Pelosi is correct that budgets represent principles, but Bash's line of questioning reminded viewers that values without implementation provide little consolation to those who cannot collect paychecks during a shutdown. The former speaker's resistance may have energized her followers, but anyone outside the political bubble saw Bash's calm and reliance on facts as more credible. In the end, it was not about who won the debate. It was about who kept grounded in reality. Bash's clarity proved her correct, not because she disagreed with Pelosi's beliefs, but because she required consistency between those ideals and their practical implications. That is journalism's goal, to bridge the gap between what politicians say and what their actions truly mean. When responsibility meets rhetoric, truth does not always shout. It sometimes quietly demands on a response.